Hello and welcome to today's video. Today, the next in my line of Diamine ink reviews for August 2022. If you're not watching this in August 2022, go back and look at my channel. There's a bunch of really cool reviews of Diamine inks, and today is no exception. Today that ink is the Diamine exclusive with Colt pens called Michael. Now, this was my 2021 ink of the year, where I chose an ink that I got in 2021 that I loved. It was released in 2021. It's a beautiful ink, lovely rich blue, lots of nice sheen. We're going to look at it on a bunch of different papers and talk a bit about it. So here we have it on Tomoe River paper. This is the standard 68 GSM Tomoe River that we know and love. You can see once again that beautiful rich dark blue, some lovely hits of sheen there. As I said, this is, I'll talk about this ink. I had it in a TWSBI Go Broad and TWSBI Go Extra Fine. As I said, this was my 2021 ink of the year. I'm finally getting around to reviewing it. And this is actually the last of the individual ink reviews I'm doing for Diamine this month. The next review will be one with a few inks, which you'll see in a few days. So let's talk about this ink. For the 5 points. Firstly, Diamine inks are made in Liverpool, England. The brand has been around since 1864, so it's got a really good, strong track record. And Diamine inks are considered to be safe for fountain pens. That is sort of general, a general rule. They don't have sort of super wild properties in any way, shape or form. Some are a little bit more concentrated. This is one of those. Yeah, they're generally fairly safe. As I said, this is an exclusive with Colt Pens or collaboration with Colt Pens. Colt Pens is a retailer in the UK. If you're not familiar with them, go check them out. Their prices are unreal. This is where I get most of my Diamine ink. And one of the reasons why I particularly loved this ink, of course, is its name. And it is actually named after a staff member. The colour is described as ocean blue. I think it's quite a rich blue for ocean blue, personally, but I think it's absolutely wonderful. So let's get cracking. Let's talk about the performance now. I've said this ink doesn't stain, but does take a bit of cleaning. It is fairly concentrated and saturated. There's a lot of pigment in the, well, not pigment, a lot of dye in this ink, definitely not pigment. But one thing I like about it is that this ink, even though it's highly, concentrated and saturated, like there's no smudge on it. Like with some of these highly concentrated inks from other brands, you do get smudging where the dye sort of still moves around on the page. It doesn't with this, which is great to see. It's got good flow, as I said, excellent saturation. It does have a slow dry time, so after 2 seconds, then after 20, you can see it's starting to dry and it's a little darker, but it's still fairly wet after 20 seconds. And most sort of inks around the 20-second mark start to sort of dry a little bit more than that. I've said it's got better than average performance. Now, I've reviewed a number of Diamine inks this month, and I say this sits in the better percentage of the inks in terms of the actual performance on non-written paper. We'll see that in a second when I show it, but yeah, it performs really, really nicely. The extras, it's got a mid to high sheen. So it does sheen in the writing, particularly like from the broader, wetter nibs. I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick that up, but it is there. And of course you see it there on the swab as well. It's good. It has a nice sheen to it. Low shade, and that's just because it is so saturated. So in a wetter pen, you are going to get virtually no shading. It is just going to lay down a fairly uniform color. In drier pens, you might get a bit more, depending on the paper, of course, that you're using. There's no shimmer, and it's got mid water resistance. So there is some sort of kept around. You can definitely keep the detail there. This is where I put water on it and then dabbed it up. This is where I've moved it with a water brush pen. It moves around a bit. You lose some of it, but you can still make it out. So I think it's not permanent. It's not water resistant, but you will be able to keep some of your writing. So let's look at the performance of this on this Tomoe River paper here. You can see nothing comes through. A little bit from the swatch and a little bit from where I put water down, but that's to be expected. But from the writing, lots of show through. It's a very dark ink and on very light, thin paper, but nothing comes through. It's a very, very positive thing to see. Let's now look at it on lower end paper, and I have it here on student notepad paper. This is a lecture pad from Spyrex, super low quality, and it doesn't perform too badly. You see that there alongside Ancient Copper, the last review I did, it actually holds a little tighter than Ancient Copper, same pens and everything. It's a slightly cleaner line. And if we look at the reverse, I think it actually performs pretty well, particularly for an ink that's this dark and saturated. It's come along very, very nicely. I'd say it's got probably a little less bleeding than Ancient Copper there. Now on the office copy paper, we still see a little bit of feathering there, but not too bad. This is definitely not fountain pen friendly paper. This is just simple 80 GSM, copy paper from Reflex. And on the back there, we still do get some bleed, but I don't think it does too badly. You wouldn't expect it to perform perfectly, but it performs okay. And now we have it on Rhodia. This is 80 GSM Rhodia paper. Beautiful shading in the swatch there. The lines look good. Bit of shading, not much, but a little bit. It performs well, it looks good. And there where I put the water down and just let it dry, you see a lot of it has moved around. There's very little left behind there. But, it's okay. It's not a water-resistant ink. It's not designed to be. On the reverse of this page, we see that nothing comes through. A bit of show-through, of course, but I think it performs relatively well. Well, very well, actually. I think in terms of Diamine inks, I think this is a fairly decent performer, especially for one that, as I said, is so dark, so concentrated, and fairly wet. Looking at the chromatography down here, we have a lovely dark, almost blue-black line with lots of grey in it. Blues, big hint of purple through the middle of that chromatography, and then beautiful light blues. It's got some depth, and we see a lot of that in the shading, so this middle blue through here. It's nice. It's a simple, what you would expect from a blue of this colour. We'll do the colour comparison now when we see their Diamines, or Colt pens at Michael. I've just brought up alongside another Diamine, which is my favourite, probably my favourite ink, Diamine Oxford Blue. It's got more of a copper red sheen than the plain red sheen of Oxford Blue, and it's a sort of a more purpley blue, whereas the Oxford Blue leans just a little bit more, I wouldn't say grey blue, but has a hit more grey in it. To compare it alongside, a standard blue, we have Waterman Serenity Blue. Once again, Waterman proving, to have rock solid inks in that sort of standard ink color range. It's a lot lighter, the red sheen. You do get the reddy copper sheen, but you sort of get that big hit of the copper on there, whereas this one sort of mainly stays in the red family. But it's a lighter, more vibrant blue. And then a Robert Oster I wanted to put it alongside was Tokyo Denim Blue, just to show the depth. This is another one of those sort of like standard blue inks, if you will. It's a little bit more sort of vibrant than Serenity Blue, but also has a bit more grey in it. You can just see how dark and rich that Colt Pens Michael is there. So let's now talk about the price. Now, this ink is only available through Colt Pens, only officially available through Colt Pens, where the 30ml bottle, including the VAT, is £2.35, and that's named Little Micky. And then the 80ml, which is the bigger glass one, is £5.90, including the VAT price. So super good value, lovely inks from this brand, and sort of exclusive to them, which also makes it nice. So I've given this ink 4 out of 5, and I've put in brackets there 4.5. The extra 0.5 is because it's named Michael, and that is my name as well. And I enjoy that. I like the fact that an ink that has my name, even though it's not named after me, it has my name, is such a wonderful deep dark blue, which is my favorite, one of my favorite color families. I said it's a wonderful, rich, concentrated blue. But it does take a little bit of cleaning. So if you're cleaning out of things like piston fillers, or vac fillers and things like that, just take the time to make sure you do it properly. It's so concentrated, it will hang around in the nooks and crannies. So just really take your time with that. So this was Diamine Colt Pens Michael. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce, and please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there is a way you would like to support this channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, I would really love to hear from you. Thank you for watching this series. One more of these to go next week, and until then, enjoy your inks, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.